What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, back to my garage. Today we're going to be tackling phase 2 on correcting my suspension geometry on the daily 04 Toyota Matrix XRS. Today we're going to be installing a roll center correction kit, and I'm not talking about EDC. Shout out EDC weekend. So the roll center is the theoretical point through which your vehicle rolls. If you drive a vehicle with a McPherson strut setup, like this Corolla, a lot of other economy import cars, when we lower our car, our control arms start pointing up like this, and the more aggressive that angle is, aka the lower you go, the further your roll center becomes from the center line of your car. So essentially these spacers are going to help us bring those control arms down and shorten our roll center to give us better handling characteristics, better suspension geometry, so the suspension can actually do what it needs to do, and the car is going to be much more predictable, and handling will just generally increase. So other parts I bought accompanying with this we'll be swapping out today. Just got some serviceable ball joints. Now if you're doing this like me and you're using a fresh set of ball joints, well, regardless, you're going to have these studs that are already connected to your ball joint. These studs need to be pressed out. You could either use a press. Personally, I just use Pitman puller. You need to press these studs out of your existing lower ball joint to accommodate these extended bolts to make room for this spacer. Alright, so now that we know all about roll center and how it affects the car, let's set everything up. I'll show you guys what you need to do to get this done, steps along the way. Let's get our roll on. Alright, we got our car lifted up. Remember, always use jack stands and wheel chocks, safety first. You're going to need just some basic tools, 17, 18, 19 millimeter sockets, breaker bar, torque wrench, a rubber mallet. First you want to remove your axle nut. Mine's a 32 millimeter, yours might be different. And then you want to pound out that axle. We just want to get it free from the hub. We just need it to remove that so we can articulate the hub out of the way so we can access the top nut of our lower ball joint. Next, you're going to want to loosen all the 17 millimeter bolts and the nut to your lower control arm. And then we're going to separate our lower control arm from the ball joint and then loosen the top 19 millimeter castle nut on the lower ball joint. You might have to get a little creative fitting your impact socket down here. I just used an extension, hook that up to the castle nut. Then we're going to use our lower ball joint extractor to press out the ball joint from the hub. I swear this never gets old. It's like playing Jack in the Box. Like, you hook this fork up, keep tightening, and it makes a loud pop, and it's just gonna fly out of there. So make sure you know, nothing's in the way that's gonna break. Don't put your phone under it. Always be careful. Wear eye protection if you feel you need to. Now we're ready to install our new lower ball joint. I'm just gonna feed it up through the bottom here and fasten our castle nut. We got to torque this down to 76 foot-pounds. Now it's kind of tricky to get this to torque, so what I did was I secured the ball joint to the control arm with the bolt tight enough to hold it in place while I torque the castle nut down to 76 foot-pounds, and make sure you don't forget your cotter pin. Next up, we're going to wedge in our roll center corrector kit, this spacer. It's going to fit in between the control arm and the lower ball joint. This does take some finessing and fidgeting around to get these all to line up. I just lined up one of the extended bolts through, played with the hub and the angle of the control arm to get the second extended bolt through. After that's just a matter of tightening down the nuts. I alternated between the two because you definitely don't want to tighten one all the way down without doing the other side. So I just went back and forth till they were nice and snugged up. Then put the extended bolt through. Once these are all nice and snug, I torqued it down to 66 foot-pounds and get our axle nut back on, and we're going to torque that to 159 foot-pounds. So kind of moment of truth. I'm about to lower it down, and hopefully we can see the angle that these control arms are. So I'm hoping for parallel with the ground, or ideally slightly pointed towards the ground. What's going on, guys? We're back from the alignment shop. Jared and the guys over at NorCal Chassis Works spent a decent amount of time, working with me, working on the car to help me on this mission to dial in the alignment on the Matrix. We talked about having that solid rear axle beam, making it a challenge to do any type of adjustment to the rear. So now, as it sits, passenger rear is within spec, but the driver rear is still out in terms of tow. So it's leading me to my next step, SPC alignment shims. They did spend some time with me, helped me find which configuration of this shim I need to run. Soon I'll be removing the driver rear hub, installing this, bringing it back to the alignment shop to see if it made a difference. And after that, hopefully I'll have the Matrix alignment finally dialed in and the car will handle as good as possible. Until then, keep driving those slow cars fast. Pass on the left.